Figured I'd do a quick review of this little printer. It's I think a weefun Tina 2, I believe is the name of this thing. And it's actually a pretty decent little printer. When I bought this, I had just bought this thing, and it's a fantastic printer. Nothing but good things to say about it. But I wanted something to print in parallel. I wanted to be able to print extra stuff, and you know, part of it was I'd bought this kind of as something that my kids and I could get into and learn a little bit about, and I sort of took it over. Once I realized what it was capable of and what I could do with it, I just kept using it and kept using it. So I wanted to buy something that they could just, you know, do little prints on and stuff like that. So I got it, and it's a good little printer for what it is. But when I got it, I initially was going to return it. It didn't work. It would, the print head would come down, and it would sit there and click and make all kinds of weird noises, and it just didn't work that well. So what I ended up figuring out is, if you look at the back here, you have a little motor coupler right here, and this motor coupler looked like a spring, so it had actually picked up to about here because it had been stretched. So I'm assuming someone had thrown the box or something along those lines, and the inertia just stretched it out, which obviously created a bit of a problem. It wouldn't allow the motor to come all the way down. It would just sit there and bog down. It also had a guard up here that was in front of the motor, and it wouldn't allow, you just couldn't see anything. It was kind of annoying. So when one of the things I did, there's a screw here and on the other side that I just took those screws off and got it out of the way. That way you can actually see what the thing's doing. The print area obviously is pretty small. And it's got a little magnetic, I don't know what you call this piece that comes in and out, and you can see where I printed a whole bunch of stuff. The very first print that I did this, kind of wrinkled the tape or whatever you want to call it up, but actually it works pretty well. I wish they had like a little upgrade where you could use one of those on it. I forget what you call that, like a spring steel thing. But once I actually started a return on Amazon, and when I was packaging it up is when I found this. And the way I fixed it was, there are 4 bolts here. You take those 4 bolts out and loosen these 2 bolts, 2 set screws here and here. And I was able to just pull the motor out of it and just squish that back down, and it actually worked pretty well. I contacted the company through Amazon and just told them what had happened, and that you know, as opposed to returning it, I just decided to keep it. But you know, they ended up refunding me $40. They offered $20, and I said, well, I think my time's worth more than $20, so give me $40 and we'll call it good, and a motor coupler. So they're sending me another one of these, and they gave me $40 off the price. I think the price was somewhere around by the time I got it home, it was like $175 or something like that. And whether it's worth the money, I don't know. I don't like the fact that it uses these little tiny spools here. It would be nice if it would use the bigger spools, or they should have made this hang sort of back here or something, to where you could put a bigger spool on it. I think that was kind of chimsy. This is the first Bowden tube style printer I've ever used, and I only ever used the PLA that came with it. I never used any other kind of filament. But if you want to just get into 3D printing, it's not that bad. For the money, it's not bad for a little machine. If you don't have a lot of space, you know, this is it beside the Ender, and it doesn't take up a lot of space at all. it comes with a little micro SD card, which I've heard a lot of people say bad things about. People like the full-size SD cards, but personally I like the little micro SD cards. I don't know why that's a sign of a bad printer. But one of the things that I noticed is if you look at where the ball screw goes, or whatever you want to call it, it's not supported on the top. I don't know how accurate this thing can be, but as far as the parts that I made, every time I made a part, it did a good job. I was impressed. One thing to consider about this, when I am running this printer versus this printer, this one I can turn on and I can go to sleep, and this is actually in my bedroom. I can go to sleep and that thing can run all night, and it doesn't bother me a bit. It runs great. I actually took this one to work with me one day and had a bunch of stuff that I needed to print. It was like 3 hours a piece, so I would just start the print and let it go, and then every 3 hours I'd swap it out. And my boss came in and was begging me to take it home. It is noisy, makes all kinds of weird noises. So if you're going to put it in a bedroom and run a print for a long time, this one's fairly noisy. It, again, for the money, it's not bad, but honestly, for a little bit more, I think you could get like an Ender 3. Not that one, but not, this is the Pro S1 or S1 Pro or whatever you want to call it. It's got all the upgrades, but there's, for about what I spent for this, from what I understand, you can get a Bowden style Ender 3. But for what it is, it's a neat little printer. It has Wi-Fi built in. I've actually never got it working. That's one of the reasons I paid a little bit extra for it, but it wasn't really that clear on how that works. And it's got a Cura profile that you can download, and it worked really well. Everything worked great. The print quality wasn't bad at all once I got it fixed. So yeah, good little 3D printer. I don't know that I would spend the money again, and I may end up giving this one to a friend of mine. He's got a kid that likes to take things apart and learn stuff like that, so I figured it would be a good starter printer for somebody. I have a tendency to buy multiple things and try different things. Again, the idea behind this was most of what I print is something, you know, that's been pretty much the biggest part I've printed, and stuff like this. So obviously you can print that inside of that printer without any trouble. And what I'm finding, you know, at first it was like, I want something with a really big build area. But what you have to realize is that is one extruder, and it can only go so fast. So if you have this with, say, 1,000 millimeter build area squared, you're only going to go as fast as that nozzle can go, and it's pretty slow. So if you have a bunch of parts to make, to me, I would rather have multiple printers with multiple nozzles to where I can go, hey, I want 3 of these. I'm going to get 3 machines going and printing that part. I need 3 right now, you know. So a lot of times when I was doing this, I really needed 3 of these. And at the time I just had this one. So, you know, you would print 3 of these at the same time. Well, your one nozzle can only do so much, so it does a layer of each one 3 times. Where if I put this one in one printer, that one in one printer, and that one in a different printer, well, I get 3 times the production. And again, most of what I'm making is smaller bracketry, stuff like this. So I would just about rather have smaller printers. I do want to get one larger printer at some point, and I got this thing, the SV04, but it's going back to Amazon right now. It's just not, it's not a very good printer. I never could get it to run at all. I messed with it for 8 hours, and I uploaded a review on it already, so I won't rehash that. But I'll probably try to find another larger 3D printer at some point, so I have a dual extruder. And one of the big things with that is it had 2 extruders. So if you had 2 of these to make, you could have both of them being made at the same time. So again, you've doubled your speed at making parts. So in all reality, for the money, I was better off with this one to make the parts. Now, after I bought this one, this was my only point of reference. So this is a direct drive, and you can run TPU, PLA, ABS, all the different things in this. And my understanding is you can do it with this one as well, but depending on the TPU, it's real rubbery, and you have to push it from here all the way into the extruder. Where this one, it's, your extruder's literally right here. So your distance from the extruder to the nozzle, actually. Now, you can actually see this one pretty well. You can see the nozzle really easily. So that's kind of nice. Where this one, everything's kind of hidden way up under there. So I guess there's benefits to both, but from what I can tell, if you're going to have to pick one, go with the direct drive, direct extruder. It's better. So anyway, I just figured I'd do a little review on that one. You guys have a good day.